Sometimes the smallest things hold the biggest lessons. Today we're going to look at a super common grammar mistake, and I promise you, it's going to unlock a powerful way to think about, well, almost everything. Let's dive in.
Okay, so here it is. This comes from Michael Swan's Practical English Usage. A classic, right? The mistake is saying it's too much hot. We've all heard it. The right way, of course, is just, it's too hot. Simple enough. But why? Why is that little word, much, wrong? Because that is where things start to get really, really cool.
See, this isn't really a grammar lesson. Not at its heart. It's about a much bigger idea, the power of getting rid of what you don't need. We're going to see how that tiny act, just dropping the word much, is a roadmap for communicating better, handling our money smarter, and, honestly, just simplifying our crazy lives.
All right, so first things first. Let's just knock out the quick grammar part, because once you get why too much hot is wrong, the whole concept just clicks.
Okay, here's the deal. The word hot is what grammarians call a gradable adjective. It's on a spectrum, right? It can be a little bit hot, really hot, or too hot. The word too is already doing all the work of telling us the degree. So that word much, it's just extra, it's unnecessary. And that's it. That's the golden nugget right there, the power of cutting out the unnecessary.
So, if we can cut out the unnecessary much in our sentences, where else can we do it? Well, let's jump into communication. Because it turns out the best communicators on the planet are absolute ninjas at this. They're masters of getting rid of the much to make their point. Think about it. The real masters don't drown you in too much data or too much jargon. Nope. They dig down and find the simple beating heart of an idea. They get that sometimes to be more powerful, you actually have to say less.
A perfect example? Sir Ken Robinson's legendary TED Talk about creativity. It's one of the most popular talks ever. And guess what? He used 0 slides, no visuals, nothing. Just him, a stage, and an amazing story. He cut out all the too much visual noise, which made everyone in the room lean in and focus on the only thing that mattered, his words.
And it's not just TED Talks. The amazing human rights lawyer Brian Stevenson figured this out too. He realized that throwing too much data at a skeptical judge, it just didn't work. So what did he do? He started telling stories. He'd share a simple story about a janitor who offered him a kind word, and that would connect with people on a human level in a way that stacks of data never, ever could. And you know what? This works even for super complicated stuff like, say, climate change. Al Gore became famous for breaking it down into these 6 really simple steps. He stripped away all the too much scientific jargon. What you're left with is this clear, logical story that just makes sense. It's a perfect case of making a message stronger by making it simpler.
Okay, so this whole idea of avoiding too much isn't just about words. It's critical in a place where things can get really overheated, our money. And there's no better example than the temptation to buy too much house. There's this fantastic case study in the book The Millionaire Next Door. It's about this young stockbroker. His goal is to build wealth. He's making $84,000 a year, but the house he's got his eye on, $310,000. Yeah, you can kind of feel the heat coming off that, can't you?
So here was his choice. The smart advice was to, cool it down, buy a smaller house, have a mortgage you can actually handle, and then invest the difference. But his plan? Nope. He wanted to go for too much house. And that meant a monster mortgage that wouldn't just slow him down. It would basically torpedo his goal of building wealth for years.
So, why? Why would he make such a financially risky choice? This quote says it all. For him, it wasn't really about the house itself. It was about what the house represented. It was about status. The pressure to look successful, to have too much, pushed him into a decision that was just way too hot for his finances to handle. It's a heck of a reminder of how we can get pushed into our own versions of too much.
Okay, so we've covered grammar, communication, and money. What about just life, our day-to-day work? Let's take a look at how we can use this art of elimination there, with a few ideas from a book you might know, The 4-Hour Workweek.
Here's a really simple, but a really powerful way to think about it. When something feels complicated, you simplify. When it feels long, you compress. Just think of that as a little alarm bell for your life. That feeling of being totally overwhelmed, that this is too much feeling, that's a signal. It's telling you that it's time to hunt for the unnecessary much and get rid of it.
I mean, one of the biggest reasons we feel so hot and bothered all the time is just information overload. You know what I'm talking about? Piles of paper, a million tabs open on your browser, notes everywhere. A tool like Evernote is a really practical way to turn down that heat. It lets you get rid of all that physical and digital clutter by putting everything in one easy-to-find spot.
Once you start capturing everything digitally, you snap a photo of a business card, scan an article, suddenly you're not surrounded by all this stuff screaming for your attention. You're eliminating all that too much clutter, both physically and mentally, and that frees up so much space to focus on what actually matters.
Okay, so decluttering information is one thing, but what about getting rid of too much work? You know, like those meetings that could have been an email? Tim Ferriss has this genius little trick for this. He calls it the puppy dog close. Instead of marching in and demanding to cancel a meeting forever, you just propose a little experiment. You say, hey, what if we just try skipping this meeting for a couple of weeks? See how it goes. It's totally low risk. But it's called the puppy dog close for a reason, because once you take that puppy home for the weekend, you never want to give it back. Same thing with getting rid of a useless meeting.
All right, let's wrap this all up. It's kind of wild, right? We started with one tiny little grammar mistake, but the idea behind it just keeps expanding and expanding.
When you look back, you can see the pattern so clearly. With grammar, it was about getting rid of one extra word. With communication, it was about stripping away the jargon. With our money, it was about resisting too much house. And in our everyday lives, it's about cutting out the clutter that's weighing us down.
So you see, fixing It's Too Much Hot isn't just about sounding smarter. It's like a whole philosophy packed into 3 little words. The lesson is simple. Find what's unnecessary and get rid of it. Find the simple, powerful thing that's hiding under all the noise.
And that really just leaves one last question for you. It could be a useless word, a confusing explanation you always give, or a task that just wastes your time. What too much hot are you going to turn down this week?